All right, everybody, we are back, and I'm going to recap the great early afternoon fights that we had today. UFC Fight Night Paris. Man, what a card! It was stacked top to bottom. A huge amount of finishes. I believe it was like 7 finishes, 5 first round finishes. The main card absolutely delivered. I didn't get to catch all the prelims, but I mean, even the first fight to start, Sam Hughes, Shauna Bannon. Huge stoppage victory by Sam Hughes. She gets in there, gets the takedown, lands huge shots from the top, forces Bannon to turn, takes her back, takes the neck, gets his first round submission. So shout out to Sam Hughes to kick off that Paris card. Um, and as we're talking about the Paris card right now, the Parisian fans, holy crap, man, they brought an energy. I know this was billed as a fight night card, but it felt like a high level pay-per-view card. I mean, the energy in the building, and then with all the fights delivering for the most part, I mean, it was just a great atmosphere and a great early afternoon of fights. So let's jump into it from the top. We'll work for the top, and then the co-main and the feature fights, and maybe a couple others I'll get to. But from the top, man, Nazardine and Malva versus Kyle Bahayo as basically the number one contender spot to take on the champion Hamzat Chimaev. Man, this was a very, very good fight, and I covered it yesterday in the preview. And I said, man, Vegas was not being very favorable to Imavov, and he's ranked number 2, and he came in as a dog. I think he closed close to plus 110, maybe plus 100 on DraftKings. And they had Kyle Bahayo at minus 130, and him being number 7 coming in as a favorite. I was not convinced with the odds, but Imavov showed that he was not a dog. And I had the fight scored 50-45. One of the judges had it 50-45. The other two had it 49-46. I think the third round was the toss-up round that could have went to Kyle. But round one, he comes out and does exactly what I thought he should have done, and that's put Kyle Bahayo on the back foot right away. He comes out, stiff punches, slick 1-2s. I mean, this guy's probably has to have the fastest hands in the middleweight division. I mean, he was cranking right hands right down the pipe and just landing. And every time he landed, Kyle Bahayo's head just snapped back from whether it was a jab or that straight right hand. I mean, that dude has a piston of a right hand. It's so fast. And the first round, he puts him on the back foot. He's landing good shots. Not a lot of volume from Imavov. I think the punch stats were very closer than what the fight looked. Bahayo was probably landing a lot more volume, but Imavov, every time he landed, they were stinging, thudding shots. So the first round, I had it for Imavov. I think the last minute or the last 30 seconds, Bahayo had him up against the fence with the double under body lock. But he really couldn't get anything going off of that, and Imavov kind of just stayed in that position until the end of the round. I gave the first round to Imavov. Round 2, more of the same, comes out, lands big right hands coming out. You could tell Kyle Bahayo's corner was trying to get him to engage a little bit more. They get into like a tussle, and Imavov lands a huge spinning back fist right behind the ear of Kyle Bahayo that knocks him off balance, closing that second round. So it's round 2 I had for Imavov as well. And round 3 is where it got kind of dicey, and it was the toss-up round that I had. Imavov kind of let off the gas a little bit. He was still landing big shots, but he wasn't landing as many. And Kyle really started to land his own shots in that round and get a little bit into a rhythm and let him get back into the fight. I still scored that round for Imavov, but Bahayo really did step it up in that round, and that was probably the round that the judges gave him, and most people that were commenting on X during the broadcast had Kyle Bahayo winning round 3. Like I said, it could have went either way. It was a close round, but I did score that one for Imavov. And then round 4, I think, was the biggest round for Nazardine Imavov. He came out and landed more combinations, big right hands. He was ripping to the body with that right hand coming up top with the left hook. And he made the adjustment because, so Nazardine Imavov is conventional, so he has left hand forward. Bohayo is southpaw, so he had a right hand for it. So they were fighting for that hand position. Well, when they were gripping up, Nasruddin made the adjustment to come in and lead with that lead elbow over the top, and he hit Bohayo with like 2 or 3 of those, and then he would rip downstairs with the body with the right hand, and then come over the top with the left hook. He did the most damage in that round. He had Kyle really running against the fence, skating across the fence, trying to make space, but Imavov was just continuous pressure. The broadcast team was saying that he was looking a little bit tired between rounds, but it's okay to look tired between the rounds. As long as he comes out and he looked fresh, he did amazing work in round 4. I gave round 4 to Imavov. Round 5, between the rounds, Kyle Bohayo's corner is telling him, hey, he's got to go. They said that he was up 3-1, but as we found out, he was probably 4-0 or 3-1 on the other 2 judges' scorecards. But he came out, he started fast, he landed a straight 1-2 right out of the gate in the 5th round. And then he started to land his best shots because he was throwing himself into the fire and engaging with Imavov, where earlier in the rounds, he was still trying to keep space and land more counter shots. But he really threw himself into that 5th round and was willing to take some damage to land some. He did land some really good shots on Imavov. And then later in the round, it's a big eye poke. Nasruddin's fingers got exposed or extended out, got Kaio in the right eye. He doesn't take too much time. He comes back, and then Imavov just gets back to work with big pressure, just landing great combinations. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard Michael Bisping just glaze somebody that hard with his shots, but his boxing was super crisp. The pressure was good. I think with that performance, he probably will get the next shot at the champ, Khamzat Chimaev, and well-deserving. I mean, Kyle Bohayo has not lost in 10 years, and Imavov gave him his first defeat. So I think he's more than worthy and deserving of the next title shot. But, yeah, 50-45 is how I had it. One judge agreed. The other 2 had 49-46, and I'm pretty sure it was round 3 that they gave to Bohayo. But amazing main event. Hats off to Imavov. I really think he should probably get the next shot. And I think that's going to be a really good fight if it does happen. He showed pretty good takedown defense against Kyle, but Kyle is not close to the wrestler that Khamzat Chimaev is. So he's definitely going to have a lot of work to do in that department as far as takedown defense and forcing scrambles and all that stuff. So, yeah, but I'm looking forward to it. But, you know, great main event. It was very close. The rounds were kind of close, but Imavov landed the harder shots and really made statement with his boxing work today. I mean, it was just amazing. Super fast and just able to keep that pressure through 5 rounds was pretty awesome to watch. But the breakout fight for me was the co-main event. I mean, this is the one fight that I previewed yesterday that I did get wrong. I didn't get way off wrong. I did say that I thought if Benoit Saint-Denis was going to get the victory, it was going to be by submission, and he proved everybody right that he's still a dog in this division, and he didn't listen to the naysayers or everybody who was saying that he was done or he was outmatched. Mauricio Hufi, with all the hype, the betting favorite coming in, you know, coming off that huge spinning wheel kick KO of King Green. Benoit Saint-Denis came out of the gate and landed a huge body kick that backed up Hufi. Benoit takes a step back, steps back in, and then throws a big high kick that lands. Hufi tries to catch it, but I think those 2 shots right off the bat got the respect that I believed Benoit Saint-Denis needed to not allow Hufi to get comfortable and stand in front of him. And it really helped set up the takedowns because now Hufi had to respect the strikes, especially the big kicks from BSD. BSD shoots. Hufi actually gets good hips down and stops the initial shot, but then Benoit Saint-Denis switches from a single double and creeps up and gets a full body lock, puts Hufi against the fence, back trips him down. Hufi actually does a pretty good job of getting a hook in to try to elevate BSD to get almost into a sweep. But BSD's top grappling is so good. I mean, he's so heavy. And there was a time in that scramble, Hufi tries to dive under to get into almost like a deep half position to set up a sweep. And as he's trying to elevate with his right hook, BSD just, it doesn't look like much, but like I've said before, the devil's in the details. He sits this left hip down heavy and surfs his hook over to the right and completely passes into a side mount position, and then immediately heavy knee drives across into a full mount and has Mauricio Hufi mounted within the first 2 minutes of the fight. He's starting to creep his arms up, trying to isolate for an arm triangle. He lets it go to throw some strikes, but causes a scramble. Gets to Hufi's back. Hufi ends up reversing the position, but then he lets him up, and then it ends up back on the floor again shortly after. Benoit Saint Denis had a great first round, really good top control. I gave him the first round, and then in the second round, it's more of the same. He comes out, gets the fight back down, gets to Hufi's back, and he locks in a rear naked, but it wasn't even under the chin. He had like almost a face crank. It was over the chin here, but the squeeze on BSD was so tight, and he held it for so long that Hufi had no choice but to tap, or else he was going to go out. But what a statement victory for BSD. I mean, people had him counted out after the Poirier-Moicano fight. I know he had a good victory his last fight out against Prepelic with the sub as well, but this one was probably the biggest win of his career against Mauricio Hufi, who was a surging contender, who had all the hype train behind him, and Benoit Saint Denis just shut that shit down. I mean, he had an absolutely brilliant performance today. Shout outs to him, man. He deserves it. You could tell he made the adjustments after the last 3 fights that he's had. He addressed it in an interview after the event and said that, you know, he had that same position on Dustin Poirier, and he made a mistake and wasn't able to make the adjustments to finish. But you could tell he really worked on that, and he got the job done today against a surging Mauricio Hufi. But congratulations, man. He deserved that win. And then the feature fight was a fight that I covered, and that was the Bukauskas versus Paul Craig. I mentioned it yesterday. I am a really big fan of Paul Craig. I can't even tell you exactly why, other than he seems like a really nice guy, and he works hard, and everybody who's around him says that he's such a professional. He does everything right. He follows a diet. He doesn't go out. He's a family man. And but I said yesterday, if he didn't make the adjustments to fix his striking issues, that it's plagued him throughout his whole career. The guy gets hit nonstop all the time, and it happened almost in the first 15 seconds of the fight. Bukauskas comes out, closes distance, throws a long jab, and then an overhand right that barely misses, but it was the way that Paul Craig went about defending that. He just pulled straight back with his arms extended and nearly got clipped. And if that shot would have hit him in that first 15 seconds, I think it would have been a knockout, cold knockout by Bukauskas over Paul Craig. He manages to get out of the way. He still eats some shots in that first flurry. Getting into like the second 2-minute mark or 3-minute mark of the fight, Paul Craig, they're in a clinch position against the cage. He attempts to pull guard. As he jumps to pull guard, Bukauskas extends his arms out, pulls out, and then just starts raining down shots on Paul Craig. He ends up getting down. Paul Craig can't secure a full guard. His head's up against the cage, and Bukauskas just starts to land big elbows with the left. And then 5 seconds left in the round, closing on 1 second, Bukauskas lands a huge overhand right elbow over the top. You can see on the replay, Paul Craig sees it coming, and he has no choice but to eat it. And I believe he was out for a few seconds. He might not have been out completely cold, but you can see as soon as the buzzer hits, he's just laying there and is just discombobulated. He has no idea where he's at. And the referee, I believe it was Mark Goddard, made the right decision, calls the fight, waves it off. It ends up KO via elbow at the end of round 1. Big win for Modestas Bukauskas. That's probably the best I've ever seen him look. And then Paul Craig lays the gloves down, walks away. I believe he's 37, 38 years old. He just said he's too old. He just can't do it anymore. It's a young man's sport, and I feel that, man. It hurts when it's time to walk away. But shout out to Paul Craig, man. One of the nicest guy in the business and great jiu-jitsu. Still has the most submission wins in light heavy, or second most submission wins in light heavyweight division in the history of that division. And I'm sure he'll move on to some bigger, better things after this, hopefully. But great career. Cheers, mate. I hope you have a good one with everything that goes on after this. So those were the three main fights that I covered yesterday. But just to go over some fights that really stuck out. The Mason Jones fight. Oh my God. He came out and got blasted early in that fight by Oki, I believe. And then manages to survive. Ends up getting Oki down in the second round and just starts just out grappling this guy, and then lands huge elbows in the second round. Gets a TKO victory. That was a great performance by the Welshman, Mason Jones. And then we had two debuts. Axel Sola, the French guy. Wow, what a KO via body shot. I mean, he had great boxing, was putting on the pressure, and was just ripping these right hands to the solar plexus in his exchanges. And he ends up getting the job done via body shot. So that was a great debut for him. And then the other one was D'Elia with his debut here in the UFC against Marcin Tybura, who actually this was a rematch. They had fought before. And he comes out and makes a fucking statement. He does not give Tybura time to get settled in, to find range, to get comfortable. He just basically sprints across the cage and starts throwing combinations, lefts, rights, gets Marcin Tybura running around the cage, ends up landing a huge right hand, puts him down, finishes him with huge strikes from turtle position that Tybura was in, gets the victory. Amazing debut win for D'Elia. And yeah, so that's it for me today. Like I said, it was a great early afternoon of fights. Those were some very spectacular wins today. A lot of finishes, not very many decisions. So like I said, the Paris crowd was absolutely on fire. It felt like a big time pay-per-view card. If I had to rate it, I'd give it an 8 out of 10 at least. Yeah, those Parisians really know they're fighting, and they get behind the UFC every time they get there. So that's it for me today. We'll have more stuff coming up next week. We'll start to break down the Noche UFC card. I'll go into depth and run down probably at least the whole main card and some featured prelim fights. So until then, see you guys next time. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.